Is it just me, or has anybody else noticed how we are just not allowed to criticize women in any way these days, online or offline? I've noticed this to some degree my entire life, but I feel like these days specifically, it has gotten to the point where we can't even have discussions about things that affect women if it upsets some women's feelings. It seems like no matter what a woman does, if anyone says anything negative or critical about it, they are automatically attacked. In person, they are shunned, and online, their content is blocked, reported, or flagged. But the same criticisms about men don't seem to elicit the same responses from men. Why is that? What is it that causes a lot of women to act this way? Women are adults. We are not children. We are not a protected class, and we don't deserve any special consideration, nor do we need it. But a lot of women these days seem to act like beat dogs the second anyone fixes their lips to say anything negative but truthful about something that a woman does. This is reflected heavily on social media. When people make content or posts being critical of men or holding men accountable for their bad behavior, men and women will gather to discuss whether or not the judgment of them is fair or accurate. Nobody goes off, nobody throws a fit, there is no mob, and there are no pitchforks. But when the same kind of content is made in criticism of women, men will come and admit that it has validity. But I've noticed that a lot of women simply refuse to give any credence to what is being said. You could have a woman on video in 4K doing or saying something completely out of line, and some women will still refuse to listen to any criticism of that woman's behavior. Instead, a lot of women will retreat to female-dominated echo chambers and complain about how women as a whole are being unfairly judged or criticized. And when women do admit that the criticism has some validity, they will complain about how the message was delivered with the wrong tone, or how it could have been said in a much nicer way, and that way they would have received the information better. Why do fully grown female adults need to be taught to using a specific tone? Can y'all explain that to me? Like I said, women are not children. Women keep saying that women are not more emotional or mentally fragile than men, and that suggesting that they are is inherently sexist, and that women are just as capable as men. And yet, I rarely encounter men getting excessively upset at criticism or that information be delivered with specific wording or tone in order for them to sit and listen to it. If a point of view is valid, it is valid. If a criticism is accurate, it's accurate. And if something is fact, it is fact. How does tone or wording change any of those realities? And why do so many women seem to allow how something is phrased and tone of voice to dictate how they choose to receive the message? Why is that? You're a grown-ass adult. Why do you need to be treated with kiddy gloves? If a man hits a woman, everybody loses their mind, especially women. But the internet is full of videos of women attacking men, and you rarely see the same outrage from women. When a man cheats, he is the scum of the earth. But when a woman cheats, everyone is supposed to be empathetic to her reasons why, especially other women. When a woman makes a bad decision, she can easily weasel out of it by claiming trauma or some form of abuse or oppression. And if anybody questions her on the matter, they are immediately accused of victim blaming. But when a man makes the exact same bad decision, women have no problem holding him accountable for it. If a man has a poignant and critical opinion of something a lot of women do, he is immediately called misogynistic. And if a woman has a negative opinion about something legitimately shitty that a woman did, and it happens to be in agreement with something a man said, she is immediately called a pick-me or anti-women. Why is it that so many women just can't seem to endure any form of criticism? And I'm not just talking about Gen Z either. Because while I've noticed that a lot of Zoomers are particularly thin-skinned, I've also noticed that a lot of millennial women also seem to have a hard time with self-criticism and personal accountability. Now, I feel like whenever conversations like this get brought up, everybody suddenly gets amnesia. Women try to act like they have no idea what you are referring to. People start gaslighting. Everyone will claim that they have never observed a similar behavior. Ain't that a bitch? Now, I personally think that people who do this, they do it because they engage in the behavior talked about, and they feel attacked when somebody brings it up. Just the other day, I wrote a comment online in response to a post about what it was like to be the child of a female sex worker. And all I said was, it seems like these days you can't criticize a woman for doing anything. That is all I said, nothing else. And guess what the response was? A bunch of women got offended by that simple statement. They started attacking me. They started calling me names. And when I asked them why that statement offended them, not one person answered. Instead, I was called a misogynist, even though I'm not a man. And so to open a dialogue about it, I'm coming to YouTube to complain about it and ask you this question. Dear women, why can't we criticize women? And why do so many women get offended by tone of voice or phrasing instead of focusing on the information? Now, I'm asking you a direct question, and I am expecting a direct answer. I'm a grown-ass adult. I don't feel the need to deflect. I am not asking whether or not you personally can't handle criticism, nor whether tone or phrasing offends you. However, I have noticed that it is a thing, so don't sit there and tell me that it's not. Now, one example of this is the body positivity and plus size movement. Notice how it includes only praise and support of obesity in women, but not in men. And when criticized, fat women are way more outraged and offended while fat men aren't. Even though obesity affects fat men and fat women in mostly equal proportions. When fat men are told they are unattractive and need to lose weight, most don't get offended. But the same cannot be said for a lot of fat women. And I'm not just making that claim. The internet is full of recorded evidence of this behavior in women specifically. So I'm asking you, why do you think that a lot of women act like women being criticized or held accountable is some form of violence? And what do you think that says about women as a whole?